Mike, how has team morale been since the guys learned about Peyton?
Our team morale is just great. Okay.
How do you feel about the depth at that middle linebacker position right now?
Feel great.
Do you mind just talking about what he exemplified as a leader and a player?
Peyton's a fantastic teammate, and we're excited to have him on the team as always, and he does a great job.
Is it tougher to lose a player of Peyton's stature earlier in the season or later in the season if you had to choose one?
Well, we haven't lost anybody.
How have Nate and Jalhad looked in practice thus far?
What's that?
How have Nate and Jalhad looked in practice thus far?
Both looked very good. Both done a tremendous job. I'd say Jihad, as far as a freshman, definitely ahead of schedule.
You think him traveling with the team as a redshirt last year is helping out the cause this year?
Hard to say, but he's played real well. You know, since he's been in there, he's played real well. He's got probably some of the biggest hits of the team. You know, on any given game, he's he's got he gets a big hit or two or three every game. I mean, and he had a huge blitz for us where he. I'm trying to think. I think it was Jihad that hit the quarterback. I'm not sure. I think it was Jihad that hit the quarterback when Peyton intercepted the ball. You know, affected the quarterback, and then I think I can't remember, but he's hit some people.
What would you say has been the best quality of your team so far in a 3-0 start?
I think we've been pretty resilient. We haven't been as consistent as I'd like. We haven't been, exactly perfect. But we are kind of resilient. We'll stay in there and keep slugging away. And I think that's. I think we've done elements of that all three games. You know, at different points.
Is there any change in the confidence of your team after that game? Just because everything looked like it was clicking.
That's a good question. I'd like to think we're confident no matter what. I think that game probably helped. We clicked less than you might think. We did some good things. There's no question we did some good things. I still think we're battling consistency on all three sides of the ball. I thought that when we got the film, there was a ton to work on for everybody, and offensively, I was glad to see our outside receivers emerge a little bit. You know, they're still not as consistent as I'd like, but that's the best game that they've had. Defensively, we bounced around, but, gave up some explosives, which, of course, we don't want that. But we're a work in progress, but I think we are making progress.
Going back to those outside receivers, how nice was it to see them emerge and give Luke the option to kind of stretch the field a little bit, because I know we didn't see that as much as you would have liked the first couple of games.
I figured it would happen eventually, and now we've got to consistently keep it happening. I guess my thought was it's about time, when young guys, with young guys, there's always, if you've got them assessed right, there's always an about time quality to it. It's, it'll eventually happen. You see it in practice for weeks before it actually happens, and then all of a sudden it happens, and you say it's about time.
And just what are your thoughts overall on the defense right now? Besides the few explosives you talked about, for the most part, it seems like they're doing an exceptional job back there, especially with the few touchdowns they've been able to also score.
They've had a knack for scoring. I think we're playing very aggressively back there. Still searching for consistency. Still searching for the consistency, but I do think we're playing hard, and I do think people are committed to progressing and improving.
What's it like to, the upcoming opponent, Nevada, Jimmy Norvell, has said that he's implementing the air raid style into his offense. What's it like to see the air raid just more and more popping up in systems all over the country?
Yeah, no, it's all over now. It's all over, and so now it's it's fine, but we see it often enough and play against it often enough, and essentially play against stuff like ourselves often enough that he's just another one now, you know.
Do you think the like your defense, when you're practicing against it every day, all year long, do you think that gives them a bigger advantage on D when you're going up against a team that?
I don't know. You know, I mean, their defense does the same thing. They're not exactly like us. You know, I think every team's got their nuances and things like that. So I think most of that mitigates out. But, you know, I think the bigger thing, regardless of a play here or there, is our defense works against the pass quite a bit, and so does theirs. So I think from that standpoint, it's kind of even, you know.
Just in the air raid offense in general, have you seen an evolution in the air raid offense outside of more and more teams using it?
Like changes to it?
Yeah, just sort of like different intricacies that maybe when you started you're seeing more of now.
Yeah, we you know, there's a bunch of guys that have worked for me and stuff that are head coaches now or coordinators and things that will keep up with one another, and you know, there'll be something maybe or that they think of or that complements what we're doing perhaps, or some cases they actually break something out that we did years ago but hadn't done for a while. And then some of them are, you know, just kind of elements that fit their particular, the talent on their team or the guys that they have, you know, and maybe don't fit us as well. And even plays within it that we've run before, we may, you know, run less of one year than the next just because of the nature of our receivers or our quarterback or what we do well.
Is this matchup a little maybe more special for you, considering they're led by Matt Mumme? It's kind of a full circle type thing.
I've known Matt since he's a kid. Yeah, I'm very proud of Matt, and I know Matt and like Matt. But you know, there's not a lot of memory lane stuff there. You go out there, you go to your locker room, you come back out, and their defense is going to present a bunch of problems, and you try to solve them, you know.
Did he reach out to you at all when he got that job, or I mean, even?
I hear from him off and on. I don't know specifically on the job, but I hear from him off and on, and talk to his dad on a regular basis. So, you know, I'm pretty up to date on it. I mean, can't say I have everything, but if I don't know, if you need any real dirt, I could probably get it. I mean, if you made it worth my while, you know.
Coach,
I'm all for that.
when he coached him at Kentucky, could you kind of tell he was destined to be a future coach in college football? I know you spent a lot of time with his dad.
I thought he'd probably coach. You know, he was always kind of a knowledgeable guy. Was always around the office. You know, was always around the office. Always watching a lot of film, and Al always watched a ton of film, and so. You know that Matt didn't have any choice on the subject. I mean, as a kid, if Al's watching film at the house, he's going to drag Matt in and make him watch it. And, you know, hey, Matt, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Matt says, hey, I think I want to go to bed. And Hal says, well, too bad. We're going to go ahead and talk about the stick route. So what do you think if we do it like this and motion to this? And so I think, you know, over time, Matt gave in and has been a real successful coach. So.
Do you have any memorable Matt Mumme stories from your coaching days at Kentucky?
You know, not really. Just kind of a steady guy. You know, he's a very likable guy. Everybody likes him. You know, the biggest thing was he'd always come from fishing. You know, knew all about the latest equipment. He'd always come from hunting or fishing, and yeah, there's good hunting and fishing around Kentucky and. Georgia before that, but that was kind of his deal, and knew all the gear, knew all the stuff, you know.
Has Hal reached out to you in regards to this matchup yet? Did you anticipate he would? Or not?
Well, you know, not really. I mean, we'll probably talk, but I don't know that it'll be exactly about this matchup, you know. And plus, he's got his matchups of his own, you know. He's 10-2, and you know, I mean. You know, obviously we want to win this game and that type of thing. But you know, I wish him well. Otherwise, you know.
I guess outside of that, there's sort of a pipeline between Reno and Pullman. You got Mastro here, Ken Wilson, even Courtney Randall, a former running back. Could you just talk about how that kind of began? I know it probably involves Chris Alt.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. Was Chris Alt? Chris Alt retired, and. Besides the fact I knew Chris Alt and knew Mastro, Yeah, we do have a lot of Nevada guys, don't we? If you add it up. Yeah, we're pretty inbred with Nevada. Andy's from Nevada. Sage was at Nevada one time. Mastro, Wilson, Bethea at one time. I don't know, I lose track. But yeah, you can't throw a dead cat without hitting somebody from Nevada around here, and that'll be even more so this weekend. So, you know, great homecoming for our Nevada guys, and we're excited about the opportunity to play a quality team that throws the ball around real well.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, you're good.
What's one of the hardest things that you've come across implementing the air raid offense at a new school, like traveling to a new place and trying to implement it?
I don't think it's offense specific, but when you get a team and you get older guys that know what you want, kind of know the vision, know the techniques, know what you want them to do. Then as they're in line doing drills, the young guys, the older guys can help the young guys, and so that duplicates your efforts, and that helps you cover more bases. But until you have that core of guys that have played in it or something like that, you're not getting that. Then as a coach, you have to be everywhere, be as specific as you can, as clear as you can. You know, extra meetings where you can, an extra walkthrough here and there. I mean, it's just a constant reinforcement, and you're making up for lost time.
Any questions on the phone line for Coach Leach?
Hey, Mike, it's Sept.
How you doing?
With Isaiah Johnson-Mack, I mean, what did you kind of see from him this game, and why do you think it took a while for the outside receivers to go off?
I thought that Isaiah's game this week was kind of similar to the one the week before. And so I think he's starting to do some good things, and I actually thought he kind of started last week. But I think the biggest thing is they're inconsistent on releases, and I think they're inconsistent. Here, hang on. Okay, I think they were inconsistent on their releases. I think they've done some really good thing in practice. I think they're inconsistent on their routes. I think the quarterback unjustifiably didn't throw it to him because he didn't trust him, but it's a lot like the field of dreams thing. I mean, if you build the field, they'll come. I mean, if you throw the ball, they'll probably catch it. If you throw the ball, they don't catch it, they'll probably adjust so that they can. And so I think a lot of it's just kind of a work in progress and us improving at it. And just like we've gone through with virtually every young player, regardless of position, but I do think they're getting better, and I think they're really explosive in practice, and we want to make sure that we do the best we can to get that out on to the game field.
Do you think it takes just one game like that where Luke hits them and he connects with them to kind of make all that go away and give him that trust in them, or do you think it's going to be a developing thing over the next few games?
No, I think it's always a developing thing. And I think there's always an element of that. Under the best of circumstances, football's hard. Between fatigue and soreness and all that, and that exists nonstop. I think people just have to push, and I think over time you develop into a tougher, more focused person, and you push better, and then all of a sudden you plug some of the holes as far as consistency goes.
Also, what do you think it is that the offense has been kind of slow to start in the last couple of games? The first two drives haven't really been what you wanted.
I don't know. I didn't think we were great the first couple drives this game, but we still score more than most people. That doesn't alibi the fact that I feel like we should score more. I think we should have scored more by this time, but we scored pretty often last game. But I agree with you. We should have scored more.
Any other questions on the line for Coach?
Coach, this is Jasmine McIntyre. Just curious about the run game and what you saw, what you still want to see from them.
I think we got to get better at it. I think our backs have to hit the hole better. I think our backs have to block better, and I think our offensive line has to come off the ball better, and I think the offensive line has to play in space better. You know, and I think we got to steadily improve at it. You know, as far as going out there, I don't have a set number of runs. I mean, I'll make sure the running backs get the ball, but it's not like, oh, well, we have to run, and all of a sudden there's some kind of sacred ground under the feet of people that run the ball. You know, if I start running it too much, you guys are going to start bitching I don't throw it enough. So, I mean, you know, I get poisoned on one side or the other. So, yeah, I do think we need to get better at it.
Thanks, Coach.
Any other questions on the line for Coach?
Yeah, Mike, one more. With Hal Lummy, I mean, what did you see in him early on to make you kind of stick with him for so many years and help him build that offense that he had this vision for?
The first one, well, first off, I was at a JC, wanted to go to a 4-year school, wanted to throw the ball, and he's the only guy that offered me a job, so that made it pretty simple. And then we kept winning and kept elevating, and you know, that path that you know that we were on, we kept elevating and getting better positions and better jobs, so that worked out good. And plus, you know, we were improving and learning more and getting better, and offense in general was pretty dynamic at that time. You know, you had a lot of offenses out there. You had the run and shoot. You still had the wishbone. You had the run and shoot, the West Coast offense, which has some similarities to the BYU concepts, and then the 3-step stuff that Dennis Erickson, Mike Price, and Jack Elway ran. So a lot of people were throwing the ball, so it was a pretty good time to observe what others are doing and learn from it.
Any questions back in the room?
Mike, have you looked into Hal's virtual reality technology?
We have it. I like the point of view on the film. You know, it's like that deal the guy at Stanford's making, except you know, I think it's more practical and I like it better, so that's why we got that one. I like the you know, the point that it's filmed, and basically it addresses where the quarterback's eyes are on a play. So I think that's beneficial. I think that it's something very good for them to go do on their own, so they can see what they were looking at and see where they should have been looking. In my meeting, as far as covering time, because it really only applies to Pascal. As far as covering time, I still use the regular film because there's a broader view, and you can describe if this guy does this, it affects this, which affects this, which affects that. So, but I do like it, and I think it's really good, and I think, you know, I think it does a good job. It's also got a feature that some people really like. It's not one that I'll use, but a lot of people like it. You can put little X's and O's and people out there, and you can push a button and make them wiggle around the direction you want to, which adds to video game for me. But, you know, people do it and are captivated for hours and amuse themselves, and, you know, probably keeps them out of the living room so the parents can enjoy themselves.
Jay Norvell played defense in his career in the NFL, and he's been a lifer on the offensive side of the ball, coaching-wise. You yourself, you didn't play college football. Do you see college football kind of going away from the cultural norm of coaches? Do you see it evolutionizing at all?
Well, I think it's always been something you got to learn your skills. You got to learn and develop your skills. I mean, if it's just a matter of who was a good player, then whoever was the best player would win the Super Bowl and would win the national championship every year, and they never do. So, you know, it's like anything you learn, you develop your skills, you get better at it. You know, you work harder, you study more, you study smarter, and constantly try to improve. So.
You said there are a few nuances between your guys' version of the air raid and Nevada's. Can you kind of pinpoint what those are?
I think the way we line up our backs is different. Our quick game is a little different. We feature some sets that they don't. They feature some sets that we don't. You know, both of us kind of throwing vertical some. You know, I think, you know, just kind of subtle things. I mean, I could, you know, if I had 2 hours, we'd give you a really good clinic and drop a whole variety of plays and X and O and grind on this thing, except for I got to figure out a way to beat these guys, so that's not going to happen. But, you know, I mean, it's just on film in general. And they feature different plays that either I'm familiar with or look similar to stuff that we've had in the past, but we may not feature them and they do, and vice versa.
Thinking about Nevada a little bit more too, Coach Norvell with a true freshman at quarterback last week. Have you ever done so at that position in your coaching career?
I don't think a true freshman. A freshman, yes. I don't think a true freshman. I'm trying to think. I think, okay, Cliff was a sophomore. Graham was a sophomore. Well, Luke was he a redshirt freshman? Yeah. I don't know if I've had. I don't think I've had a true freshman, redshirt freshman, and had redshirt freshmen get some reps for sure. But I don't think true freshman.
From a coach's perspective, do you see any advantages to maybe pulling the trigger that early in the season on a young guy at that position?
Well, if he's the best one, I mean, then it's obvious. I mean, you know, who plays? Well, the best guy plays. And then it helps you build for the future too. You know, I mean, the more reps a guy gets, the better they get. So, you know, I don't know. I haven't looked at it that close. I've seen it more than I have.
Cam Boston makes his return, and he's kind of implanted himself as a regular on their offense. Is there any worries that a player could talk about your guys' system or your plays? Do you worry about that at all?
No, not really. No, not a lot. You know, they have all our films, so there's not one film they don't have. You know, on this play they run a slant. Oh, you mean this one right here? No, the slant they run on this one. Yeah, I mean, they have virtually every film.
What would you say to Caleb? I know he's now.
Oh, I'm real happy for him. You know, I mean, went there, got on scholarship, and he's a fantastic guy, just a great guy.
Going back to Coach Alt, do you see a parallel, sorry Bobby, between how the pistol kind of spread and the air raid?
You know, the pistol, I think, and I like the pistol, and you know, we messed with it a little and didn't commit to it, and they have some pistol elements still there at Nevada, and you know, I think it's kind of a series of plays and stuff, and I think it's done very well. And then, of course, they'd add other stuff to it, and you still see elements of the pistol in the NFL some too.
Last chance on the phone. Okay, back in the
Hey,
room.
Coach, having a player like Peyton Fallure, who started 4 seasons at middle linebacker for you guys, what kind of experience does that bring to defense? How much of a drop off is it if you don't have that 4-year starter back there?
I don't think there's any drop off. We're 100% healthy, and furthermore, but he you know, his experience. Well, part of it, he's always been a intelligent football player, smart football player, and you know, that type of thing. And you know, I think any level of experience is helpful, but the other thing, that all starts somewhere, you know, I mean, everybody talks about, Peyton's experience. Well, when I put Peyton in there talking about the other guy's experience, and thought the other guy, you know, all of a sudden, what are we doing? The other guy's got so much experience. So, I mean, all these guys start somewhere, and so, and of course, Peyton was no exception.
Coach, you said you needed to look at the film after Saturday's game for the offensive line's play. Could you dive into how they looked and what your thoughts are after film?
Inconsistent. I thought good sometimes. You know, one thing with the offensive line, I think they're playing similar to all our other positions, to be honest. You know, the other positions aren't as exposed as a group. I mean, one guy screws something up, it exposes him. It doesn't necessarily expose the whole group. Offensive line is choreographed in such a way, if one guy screws up, it kind of exposes the whole group. So I think there's an element of that. I think they're playing similar to everybody else, not as consistent as we like, but you know, we have to get better.
So if Peyton's 100% healthy, do you expect him to play on Saturday?
You bet.
Coach, when you're in Nevada, are you much of a gambler? Do you have a game of choice?
I don't gamble, really. I mean, I'm not against it. I just get bored with it. And just one caveat in here. I'll boot every one of you out of here. You keep talking about injuries. You know, I think I've been very patient today. I gave you about 5 questions. I didn't kick any of you out. Now you ask me another one, I'll kick you all out. So just know that. I don't gamble much. I think it's boring.
Last chance for questions for Coach.
Hey, Coach, Zach Andrews. Wondering if you've got a favorite coming into the end of the season for Major League Baseball.
What do you say?
Somebody making a run at the playoffs.
Favorite baseball team going down the stretch?
Oh, I haven't watched it much. My favorite team's the Angels. I haven't watched it much. How are they doing? Are they doing any good?
They're about a wild card, 3 games out.
All right, there we go. I want the Angels. And you know, with all due respect for the Seahawk fans, I like them. It's just I glommed onto the Angels going through law school because all the anxiety that I had in law school and whatnot, you know, that would be released a little bit at Angel games. And so anyway, Angels are my team. But I do wish the Mariners the very best too, you know.
What's your favorite sport to watch playoff-wise besides football?
Oh, World Cup rugby probably, like the Rugby World Cup.
Go ahead, Mike. Student question of the week, fan question of the week. Sort of related to last week where it was if you could be a part of any band. If you could submerge yourself into any book, movie, or TV show, which would you want to be a character in? Which world would you want to live in?
Yeah, that's kind of tough. That's so broad. Wow, I don't know. That's pretty tough. You know, I don't know. I mean, I can think of a lot of stuff. You know, one thing that was real captivating when I was a kid was The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, you know, all that stuff. And of course, that was the first of, you know, I mean, I can't help but believe that didn't have a hand in spawning Harry Potter and a lot of the others, but which of course I think that's real good. That's what my kids grew up with. You know, they got the whole quest, the whole journey. You got to dodge a bunch of stuff. I don't know exactly what you'd want to be. The whole West, you're dodging bullets. You could be Rio Bravo or something. You got to dodge a bunch of bullets. Might get hit. I don't know. That's a tough, broad question. And then depending what I've seen last, I can justify about anything, you know.
I have a backup if you wanna-
Yeah,
if you
fire
wanna
away.
elaborate.
Yeah, I can't help you much with that one.
What's the best party you've ever been to?
Best party I've ever been to. Let me think about this. Well, I've been to a few Jimmy Buffett concerts. Had a good time there. Oh, shoot. In high school, it ranged from going to the National Forest, camping out in campgrounds, to the cool parents' pasture, you know, which they may or may not have a barn, or you might just, there'd be tents pitched out there. Back when I grew up, stuff like that was like Woodstock. It wouldn't go to the gym and the parents show up and serve punch or any of that. Let me think. Well, I'll tell you a pretty good one, and I never did get the chance to meet Kenny Stabler. Everybody else did. I got my master's at the United States Sports Academy in Daphne, Alabama, and which is a great place on the Gulf Coast of Alabama. It's on the East Bay of Mobile, but it's also right by Gulf Shores, Alabama, which is the consistency of the sand there's perfect. It's just bright white. It's the consistency of sugar. You know, without being sticky. I mean, it's just gorgeous, and the water's just emerald green water. And there's this place down there which is worth going to. It's kind of a cross between the ultimate palatial shack treehouse. I still need to build a treehouse, incidentally. That treehouse guy, I need to get a hold of him. He's hard to call. But the place is called Floribama, and it got slammed in the last couple hurricanes. So, you know, if you go back again, you can see which rooms are missing and which rooms they added as a result. But Floribama is right on the border of Alabama and Florida, and you could go in there and there'd be like 3 different bands playing, one band slightly different from the next. You could get one of those sawed-off boxes like they put a case of beer in, heaping with crawfish for like $5. And then they had this triple level deck out there overlooking the Gulf of Mexico in the middle of the night, all the stars, and of course the band playing, and all the people hanging around all day. Fantastic people watching, plus you had crawfish, plus you're out there on the end of that deck, and it's just gorgeous. That'd be tough to beat. On the right night, which I actually liked weeknights better, because too slammed on the weekends. But I would have to say a really good weeknight at Floribama. Yeah.